Hi everyone, welcome to the Peer2Peer marketing podcast. This is the podcast. And we have a very special guest today. Yay! Today's guest is Mr. Gonzalez, the one and only. Our wonderful the wonderful CSI teacher of all three of us here. So yeah.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Mr. Gonzalez. I teach computer science here at Pingree, primarily within the upper school.
Yay!
Yay!
And I'm very excited to be here.
We're very excited to have you.
Yay! So we figured to lighten the mood, we'd start with a few funny lightning questions before getting into the more serious, long-winded ones. So our first one is, what is your favorite Gen Z slang word?
I don't know what any of the things you all use as slang words mean, but cringe? Is that one of the things?
Sure, yeah.
Sure, yeah,
Okay,
that's pretty
we'll go
valid.
with that.
Pretty valid.
Okay, I'm very proud of this question. Wait, okay. What's your favorite code command?
We're gonna go with the classic print.
Oh.
Reason? Any reason?
Because it's how we start most programming languages. We have students print hello world on the screen.
Hello
So I feel like it's...
world.py.
If we're doing Python, sure.
Amelia, what about you?
And what is your least favorite command?
Break.
Oh.
Or anything
yeah.
similar to force out of some type of code structure.
Yeah, if you've taken one of Mr. Gonzalez's classes, you would know this.
Yeah.
He thinks it's bad logic.
Just reorganize the code.
Yeah, that's pretty valid. I agree. What's your favorite programming language?
It's going to be the first one I learned, which is a language that's called BASIC. Just kind of, your first language holds a special place in your heart.
I agree. Jasmine?
What's your favorite hobby?
Hobby. I enjoy reading, so I spend a lot of time reading different types of books, and primarily fantasy and sci-fi.
What's your favorite book?
I don't know if I have a favorite book. That's such a hard question to answer because it it depends on genres and the mood that you're in and different things like that. But pretty much anything that's fantasy, either dark fantasy or high fantasy, things like that I enjoy. And then different types of space operas, typically military type space opera books.
Fire. If you were to change the subject you taught, what would you change it to?
I love computer science so much. I don't know what I would switch to. And I also don't know what I'm qualified to really teach that would be
If there were
different.
no qualifications,
Yeah, no.
I would probably switch to a really closely related domain. I'd probably go into some type of engineering course. That would be a thing. And that's what I've been trying to spend some of my free time doing right now, is learning a little bit more about engineering concepts and things like that. So I'd probably switch over to something along those lines. My undergraduate degree also focuses in business, so it's possible that I could teach something business related.
Wait, I didn't know that.
I would love
pretty
to have
cool.
you as a business teacher.
Wait, that would be cool. You could teach an econ class. Oh my gosh. You could teach an econ class or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's the one fun fact about you that nobody else, you never told anyone else at Pingree before?
It'd be a hard thing to mention in the podcast because then all of these people are going to know.
Yeah, but it's unique to our podcast. It's special.
I think some people know this, but maybe a lot of people don't know this, but I am a huge dog person. I have a dog. I love my dog so much. I do bring her here to school in the fall or the spring to watch different types of sporting events outside. So if you ever see me here, come say hi. Come say hi to my dog.
I saw her once.
Her name's Cammie. She's a Boston Terrier.
Aww.
I love her.
I've had Boston Terriers for many years. Probably one of my favorite breeds.
So this is kind of more of a longer answer, but it's still fun. If you could take students on a field trip anywhere in the world, where would you take them and why?
I would say Iceland, maybe. Just one of the coolest places I've been. Be a place I'd love to go back to. It's when you're there, you feel like you're literally on another world, just how different the landscape looks. And so I think it'd just be a really cool experience for people to have.
If you could change one thing at Penguin, what would you change?
Pingree is a great place, but it is a very high pressure place. And so sometimes when you see students just so stressed about their courses or other activities that they're doing, high school is supposed to be fun. And so, if I could change one thing, it'd be for students to enjoy their high school experience. This is 4 years that students have. That once you graduate from high school, you can never really come back here. And so, yes, we're supposed to work hard and we're supposed to learn and all of these things, but we can have fun while we do that. And so I think sometimes in kind of the high pressure environment that Penguin is that that fun aspect maybe gets lost sometimes. Mm-hmm. So if I could change something, it'd be for us to, enjoy high school and try to have some of those classic high school experiences, because once you leave here and you go to college, can't come back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my question is that, like, do you have a core Pingree memory? Like, if you were to leave right now, what is, like, one memory from Pingree that you think would, like, stick with you for the rest of your life?
So one of the things that always sticks with me every school year is I teach the intro to programming classes here. And so the class is, really meant to bring students who have not done a programming language before, even if you have done a little bit of programming, to really kind of bring your skills up. And so to me, the memory that always sticks out, and I love teaching that class, it's probably one of my favorite classes to teach. And so you take a student that has never written a line of code, right? Like hello world, print hello world is the first line of code that they have ever written in a programming language. And so to see a student go from hello world to the end of the semester creating a fairly complex game, or whatever the final project ends up being.
Spanish Wordle.
So to see someone go from Hello World to this really complex game that just typically mimics, something real that maybe you use on your phone or something like that, is just something that really sticks with me. And I hope the students that kind of have that journey and that experience kind of really see how they went from, Hello World to, this really complex program. And so that's really a memory that kind of, I just love seeing like the student, at the end of the semester, they produce this game and they play it on their computers and their friends play it on their computers and people are kind of playing this thing that they created. And to me, that's one of the great things about computer science is that you are able to really create something that didn't exist.
I think all of us can vouch for
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Favorite lab ever?
Programming was like a pretty transformative experience.
Yeah, it was insane.
Oh my god. I kind of wanted to bring back to the basic question. How did you end up teaching here at Penguin, and kind of what drew you here?
That is, I'll give you the long answer since we're on a podcast and not the short answer.
Wait, hit sound effect.
So the short answer would be like COVID. I would just say, COVID kind of impacted a lot of people and made a lot of people reevaluate careers and things. And so that is the truth, but really it started way before COVID. So when I graduated from undergrad, one of the things that I did was I kept in contact with, just different types of teachers or deans or administrators at the college. And so I would actually go back to be a guest speaker there. And there would be, a number of occasions where I would go back to speak to, either an individual class or maybe a large seminar or something along those lines. And I really enjoyed doing that. And at, the end of one of those speaking events when me and one of the deans was walking back, they had mentioned if I'd ever considered teaching. And I said, it would absolutely be something that I would be interested in if the opportunity ever came up, keep me in mind, yada, yada, yada. And so a long while went by, probably like a year or more. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, that dean reached out to me and was like, hey, we had an adjunct professor kind of cancel last minute to teach a class. Like you had mentioned, you'd be interested. Would you be willing to kind of come and teach this class? And this was in the summer, and it was probably less than 2 weeks before the school year started at the college campus. And I was like, yeah, that'd be great. And so if you don't know, so adjunct professors are like part-time professors. So they teach a full class. So you would teach a full semester class. but you typically teach at night or because most adjunct professors have full-time jobs. So I had a full-time job at that point, and so I was like, let me check with my current employer, make sure they're okay with me working a second job, because that's essentially what this would be. And so they said yes, and in less than 2 weeks I was teaching my first course at the college level, and I really had never taught a full course like that before. And so it was a great opportunity, and I really loved doing that, and I did that for a few years until my job changed. And then it just at that point I switched careers, and I was a consultant, and I was traveling all the time, and so I couldn't teach really anymore because I couldn't be committed to be on campus 2 days a week or something. And so fast forward several years, I'm no longer kind of doing this adjunct teaching position at night. COVID happened, and I went from being a consultant who was flying somewhere different on average probably every other week or so a lot of travel, and COVID happened, and now no one is traveling anywhere, and I'm at home, and it kind of just gave me time to reevaluate what I was doing and really how what I wanted my future to look like. And although I did really enjoy being a consultant and working with my team members and clients and things like that, I just didn't feel like that was the job that I wanted to do forever. And so I started to soul search and think about the things that I did earlier in my career that I really enjoyed, and one of those was when I taught at night as an adjunct professor. And so I was like, hey, I should maybe try to see if I can get a full-time teaching position. And so I started to, I don't have a teaching degree, so I have a master's, but I don't have an education background. And so I started to just look at private schools, because I knew that on the public school side, you would have to have some type of teaching certificate or go through some alternative path. But I knew on the private school side that I'd have a little bit more kind of flexibility to get a position without having a certificate. And so I just started to keep an eye out for open positions. I knew I wanted to teach computer science because that's really what my background was in. And I saw a position open up on Pingree's website and applied and went through the entire interview process, and they offered me the job.
Yay.
Wow.
That's so touching.
So, I guess
I love that.
the moral of that is, you never really know where your future is going to go. I know a lot of students think, okay, I want to go to college and I'm going to study this particular topic, and then I'm going to get this job and I'm going to be in this career. And, but you never really know where the future goes, right? So I'm someone who didn't have a traditional education background, and was able to, in many years after I'd started my career, really transition to something completely different.
So I wanted to circle back to what you said earlier about being less stressed and enjoying high school more. I know that computer science students are notorious for not doing that. And based on what you've learned about your students through teaching computer science at Pingree, I wanted to ask if you had any specific advice tailored to those students on how to enjoy their high school experience more thoroughly.
I think, and I think I know where this question is maybe coming from, because in computer science we do give a decent amount of work, and part of that is in computer science it's important to really practice these concepts very, very frequently. Computer science is also a tough major in college, where there's a good amount of work, and it's tough subject matter and things. I think one of the ways that could help students enjoy, let's talk about computer science students specifically, enjoy their high school career, is to try to plan out schedules a little bit more and assignments a little bit more. I know in computer science, even though we give work to students, we do try to balance out due dates and how much time we give students to complete projects and assignments and things like that. But some of it does fall on students to just kind of manage their schedules a little bit as well, not wait till the last minute. When you wait till the last minute, that kind of causes more stress and all these things like that. And so that might help students, but also just trying not to be overcommitted. So I think Pingree students may have the they want to do so many things, which is great, right? Like, and there's so many things to do here, which is also fantastic. But sometimes like you might not be able to do all of those things, and so certain things just might have to kind of maybe be a lower priority. So like everything can't be super important, and so it might just be one of those things where if you want to be, you know, a computer science student, that means it's going to be more work on the academic side. And so it's not that you can't do these other things, but maybe some certain things might have to kind of give a little bit so that this thing you can do a little bit more. But, you know, you might have to reduce some of the time that you're spending on other things and not give up those things completely. But, you know, it's hard to be in a really difficult academic major and then also, you know, have this thing and this thing and this thing and this other thing, and you want all of those things to be the most important thing.
So my question is that, is there any like particular reason why you chose to pursue computer science? Like,
I have always been like a technology geek. So going back to even, you know, when I was younger than students here, so we'll say like middle school age, I just love computers. And when my parents bought us our first kind of family computer, like I was just amazed by this device and all the things that it could do. And, you know, I started to play around with it, and then I would break it. Like, and it'd be like our family computer. It's the only computer. And then I'd figure out how to fix it. And then I'd learn something, right? After being incredibly scared because I just broke our family computer, and my parents are probably going to like, you know, be very, very angry about that. I, you know, figured out a way to fix it. And then I figured out, oh, I can like open up this computer and there's all these parts inside of it, and I can start to replace those parts and upgrade them and put different parts. And so I really just kind of fell in love with computers and technology and video games and, you know, kind of tweaking things. And this is all before I really had ever coded anything. It wasn't until I got to high school where I actually started to program. And so this was just more of like being in love with technology and computers. And then when I went to high school, we didn't really have a computer science curriculum like Pingree has. We had more of a really like a programming curriculum. So we just had a lot of courses in different languages. So we'd have, you know, kind of, let's say 5 different programming languages or something like that. But it wasn't computer science based. It was more of let's code these programs in different games or different things like that. And so that's where, you know, I kind of started to program, and I was like, wow, this is really awesome. I, you know, created this thing that didn't exist before. And so that's kind of what led for me to move into the technology space. My degree is actually not in computer science. So I was originally a computer science major and then switched out of that major to another kind of closely related domain. Nowadays, that domain I think is called information science. Is probably like what I've seen students who study in college kind of study that thing. But
do you have a mantra or like a life lesson you live by?
A mantra or a life lesson that I live by? Wow, I feel like we're gonna get like the questions are starting to get kind of deep.
Oh, we have plenty more
we need advice from you.
deeper ones.
You're very wise.
So when in my corporate life before I was here at Pingree, when you work for a company, a lot of companies have you go through different types of training classes. So it's not like once you work for a company, you never go back to school again, because you have to go through these different classes for different things. And we had a class where someone came in, and I don't really even remember what the goal of this class was, but I do remember this one thing that the instructor said, which was, so I'll say what it is, and then I'll kind of talk about what it means. So the whole idea is to change your story. And so, you know, what do I mean by change your story? So a lot of times we humans, right, get in our own heads about things where we kind of come up with this story that maybe is true, but maybe is not true. In different types of situations where it's like, so example of school, it's like, oh my gosh, I just failed that quiz the teacher doesn't like me, you know, they said XYZ to me, so now I know they definitely don't like me. And we kind of create all of these things in our own minds, and which kind of creates like this spiral situation. And then it's hard to like really see like maybe how do you get out of that situation? How do you make that situation better? And so when we were in this class, like, you know, one of the things the teacher said was, you have to change your story. Like you, right? Because you're the one who kind of created this story in your head, which is likely not really even like an accurate picture of what's going on. So in order for you to really be able to move past that and to make better decisions and to learn from the situation, you really have to, in your own mind, change your story and just tell yourself, you know what, like, none of those things are really true. Like, no one, like, I don't know that I failed that quiz because I haven't gotten the grade back.
I got my quiz back last.
Oh, I did too.
You know, no, I never even asked my friend what the situation is or why that person's mad at me. So like, why am I creating this whole story of like why that person's mad at me? And so I think it really is about us kind of, you know, reevaluating what we think is going on in a situation. And so, look, I get in my own head about things as well, where I'm like, oh man, I like totally messed that thing up. Like, now this is going to happen, and then this is going to happen, and then this is going to happen. And like, I kind of spiral and create like this whole series of things, which maybe I did mess something up, but it doesn't mean that like all these other things are going to happen. And in order for me to get out of that spiral, like I have to change my story. I have to change my viewpoint about it. And I have to be like, you know what? Yeah, I messed that up, but this is what I'm going to do to ensure that it doesn't happen again. Or this is, you know, what I'm going to do because, you know, I need to make some kind of decision about whatever the situation is. And so, like, I can't just sit here and wallow. Like, I need to make a decision.
That's, again, very deep.
So that's what I would say, right? Change your story. Get yourself out of, you know, kind of that mindset of really starting to spiral.
Mm. Yeah, I've always heard that, like, if you're not gonna, like, worry about it in, like, 5 years, don't worry about it for more than 5 minutes. I told both of them that.
After Amelia
I, like,
quizzes.
saw it online, and I'm like, I like that.
Yeah.
I should apply that.
So I won't worry about the quiz I just got back.
Well, and
which
and
was
there
Gonzalez graded.
there are things that happen now, and especially like in high school, where I know you feel that like it's the most terrible situation that could possibly like ever happen. And what you're going to realize is 5 years from now, you won't even remember that thing, right?
Yeah.
So, but right now, so I'm not trying to diminish what's going on in your lives right now, because it is super important now in this moment. So I definitely don't want, you know, students to think, oh, you're just diminishing the things that are going on in my life. Like, I understand that those things are important. But when, you know, we think about like your future and where you're going to be, is one quiz grade for one class and one unit really going to impact, you know, what your future looks like? And a lot of times probably not.
What qualities do you think make a good student or a successful student? Pick whichever one.
We'll say a successful student. I mean, I think there are probably a lot of qualities that are required for a successful student. I'll talk about computer science specifically. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I think is important in computer science is attention to detail. Like, I think the details really matter, especially when we're trying to code things. You know, as you're all computer science students, as you know, one misplaced semicolon or plus symbol or curly bracket, right? Like, your code's not going to work.
Compilation errors.
Yeah, lots of compilation errors. So I think that attention to detail is really important. And I think just the ability to, and I talk about this all the time in computer science, right? Be able to solve problems. So at some point, and I think Mr. Popper talked about this in maybe a speech he did a few weeks back. Mm-hmm. And I don't know when this is going to get released, so we'll say earlier in the school year. Like, we're all going to run into problems that we've never encountered before. And so in computer science, we try to like mimic some of those problems, to like force problems to occur with the problems that you're working with. And it's because we're trying to teach you to approach a problem differently, or to break down a problem into a smaller problem that you understand, and so to take a really big problem and make it much smaller problems. And so I think being a really good engineer is about how do you kind of break down those problems, and how do you take something that you don't understand and make it into something that you do by maybe focusing on a component that you can solve, and maybe that leads you to, you know, a solution to then another component that now you can solve. And all of us at some point, like, reach a situation in our lives where we don't know how to solve something, right? It's like I run into problems that I don't know how to solve all the time, but I know how to break down the problems that I run into so that I can figure out a way to solve it.
Do you have like a teaching philosophy? Like, what do you think about when you're teaching students? Like, what goes through your mind when you're like, oh, I want this student to learn this, or like, you know, understand a concept?
I really think that those aha moments are really important for students. So there are times where students will come to me for help, and like I see what the issue is in their code, and I don't just want to tell them, hey, line 14, you need to change XYZ, whatever it is. Like, I think it's sometimes really important for students to have that aha moment. And I think sometimes it frustrates students because, you know, they may just want me to give them the answer because they've been staring at their code and they don't know what the problem is. And so what I try to do is like lead them to where the problem is, where I'd be like, hey, did you look at this? Or did you see this? Or do you understand like why this thing is important? As opposed to saying, well, at line 14, you need to change XYZ. And I really love when students are working on a problem and they're looking at it and I'm like, well, why don't you put some extra print statements to debug your code, right? So put some extra print statements, debug it. Like, you think the variable has this value in it, but I don't think it does have that value. And you're not going to see that until you kind of like put some print statements in. And then the students will put the print statements in, they'll test some more, and then they have that aha moment where they're like, oh my goodness, this is what happened. I, you know, used this symbol instead of this symbol. And like, I really love students to figure those things out on their own. And I want them to have like that satisfaction as well. And I'm not sure if you like appreciate it or don't appreciate it in the moment, but my hope is that when you like solve that problem, that you get that satisfaction moment. Because I know that when, you know, when I'm working on a really hard thing that I don't understand, and, you know, I kind of just have it going on through my mind over and over and over again. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, like, why don't I try like this? Like, I think this is going to fix it. And being able to like overcome that problem, I think is just important for students to be able to do. And to see that they can, right? That they can solve the problem. They just need like a little bit of guidance for them to maybe look at it a different way, or, you know, try some other things out, but, you know, to have them solve that problem.
I have another very quick fire question. What's your favorite lab? Like,
That's a good
it can be any class, or do we want to make it only CSA?
Intro and CSA.
Intro and CSA.
I mean, I really like the Wordle lab. Like, I think it, and I know Wordle's dated now, because I'm not sure if students still play Wordle. Is that?
Some people still do.
Okay.
Yeah.
You should make a connections lab.
Oh my god.
Like, no, hold on. An amazing idea, okay?
Yeah.
So you can, like, use, like, different lists. I don't know if it's 2D lists from Python, but, like, 2D lists for the whole, all the things, and then each list holds, like, the 4 words that are connected, and then you mix them up, and you give them the 4 words, and then you play connections.
fire.
Too many loops.
So good.
I'd cry.
That'd be fire.
I'll have to
Sorry.
give some thought to that. I know there's a tic-tac-toe board inside of a tic-tac-toe board that students play, which I forget.
Gosh, no.
I should know the name of it.
I don't like that.
But yeah, I like the Wordle Lab. It was fun to create. I think it's fun for students to see that they can create something like Wordle, which, you know, a guy created, I don't know, in his house over the course, I think, of a couple of weeks, and he put it out there, and then it became like this super popular game, and then it was bought by the New York Times, I think.
Yes.
And this person probably made a lot of money from that. And so I think it's cool for students to see, hey, look, you, like, that's actually not an overly complex program. Like, you can create that, and we're going to create that in class.
Suggestion. I've been talking about this with Amelia. So we play Papa Scoopery And so, suggestion, you should make a Papa Scooperia lab.
I don't know what that is.
So like
It's like the graphics are complicated though, right?
no, but it doesn't have to be like graphics. Like you can use like I don't know, like an array list for like the toppings. So it's basically like you choose like a ice cream order or like any other order you want, like make it a milkshake or something. But like if it's like ice cream, you can have like an array list of like all like of different flavors you want, and like all the different like toppings you want, and you can make it like shopping list. Remember the shopping list tab, like where you like wrote out stuff to like different files, and then so then like if you like write out a person's order to like a file, I think that would be fun.
Okay. We'll have to talk about this separately so I can get a feel for what it looks like.
Yes.
Oh gosh. What about for CSA? What's your favorite lab?
Yeah.
One that's gonna come up, so I don't want to spoil it.
Oh, come on.
But
What about ones that we've done so far?
We'll be doing it very soon.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Wait, is it like Connect 4?
I don't want to name any names of the labs.
It's definitely connected.
There's
Or
Yeah.
not the Enigma machine.
That's fun. That's fun.
Caesar Cipher was better, by the way, because we had a message.
We had
Oh,
there were
yeah.
missions. There were missions to
yeah,
complete.
yeah.
Yeah.
My mission was like basically like I could see.
I'm gonna do that next year. I'm going
Okay.
to
Yes,
introduce that same thing
Introduce what?
for the Enigma machine to have students have missions that they have to complete after they decrypt whatever
so
the
much
message is.
Changing a lot of things.
And like some people had fun missions. I just had one to like take a picture of like the clock tower or something.
Yeah, some students had to get pictures with different teachers
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
the deans maybe.
Mine was take a picture in the science wing with a science teacher, something like that.
See, the problem now is that when we actually do that in intro, now the students know that it's gonna come up.
Oh.
Oh.
It's okay. It's fine.
I mean, it's alright.
They're starting their PEs.
They heard about Wordle too.
Oh.
That is, well, I don't know if Word will be the final project. We have switched that up a little bit.
Oh, really?
You
Okay,
can, like,
so
edit
no one
it
can
out.
take Spanish.
Spanish
Wordle.
Sensitive topic.
I think we should edit that segment out and then we can drop it as like a surprise and like
Yeah.
keep people waiting. Like, oh, what's the final part of the Mr. Gonzalez podcast? Like, what did I miss? I need to know what happened.
Okay. Do we have any more questions, chat?
I don't have any.
Yeah, I don't really have. Oh, I don't have any.
Okay,
either.
might have to skedaddle soon.
Okay. So thank you, Mr. Gonzalez,
Yeah.
Thank
for
you.
being here.
Thanks
It's
for
a
having
pleasure.
me.
Do you have any final notes that you'd like to say?
Final messages. Thoughts on this podcast?
Oh yeah, your feedback is important to us.
Podcast has been great. Thank you
Yay.
for inviting me to join you here.
Okay, thank you all so
All right.
much for
Thank you.
listening.
Thank you.
Thank
If
you.
you made it to the end, like, yeah.